somebody can see what's on the screen?
Money is energy.
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. Money is energy. And I love how you guys said that. Money is energy. And immediately, can anybody shout out their feelings whenever I say money? Is it positive? Is it negative? Like, what energy do you feel with it?
Happy, positive.
Happy. We like to get money, right? We like to receive money. We like to open up our bank account and see it there. Does anybody feel like sometimes you open up your bank account and you're like, I wish there was more there?
Yes.
You're like every day.
Yes.
This actually is going to be one of my favorite lessons of the 3 days. And it's one of those lessons that can really start to impact your relationship with money. So I'm going to go ahead and click onto our learning objectives here. And what we're looking to achieve here is to understand the current relationship that you have with money, with abundance. And what does it mean whenever we're living in our quote unquote reality of this relationship? Yesterday, we also explored this concept of radical acceptance. What does that mean when we take our good, our bad, our ugly, our amazing within ourselves? And then how does that make us show up in the world? That radical acceptance was under the allowing aspect of our polarity manifestation equation. So understanding this concept of what we allow, what we accept about ourselves in our reality is what helps us achieve our goal. So in this case, if we're trying to make more money, we want to bring up that allowing and bring down that resistance. And that's going to require a lot of acceptance of where we're at and where we're going. And then finally in here, we want to understand how to attract money into your life as money being energy. So all of us have probably thought of money as like dollar bills or coins or maybe even Bitcoin, but we think of it as something very tangible. But in reality, we're going to learn that money isn't necessarily something tangible, but an energetic force. So moving into this, you kind of see some of those key takeaways. I'll let you kind of read those off to yourself, but it just brings into some of the points that we're going to use in the next couple of slides. And then there's this new concept I want to introduce to you that's going to interact with your subconscious and money together. So first and foremost, I'm going to talk a little bit deeper about this accountability aspect when it comes to radical acceptance. Now, I'm sure a lot of us want to blame the economy, or we want to blame how we grew up with money, how our relationships ended. Maybe you ended in divorce, or maybe you had to start all over again, or maybe you moved to a new city. For those of you all that know my story, I'm a human trafficking survivor. So I was in slavery for about 7 months during that time where I had no identity, I had no money, I had no choice. And being able to have that type of relationship and then walk out of that as a survivor that transformed into a thriver over the last decade, it took a lot of accountability of realizing what was in my control and what was my relationship with myself. Because when you are a survivor of any circumstance, not even human trafficking, but of divorce, of job loss, of having to start over again, your relationship with money becomes damaged. And most people treat money as if it's like their ex-lover, and they scorn it and they get mad at it. And they're like, I want more. Like, why is this not happening? And that negative energy becomes part of our accountability factor. And that causes resistance in us. So as someone that's been able to go from literally everything to nothing to bouncing myself back up, I understand this accountability factor is very important whenever we start our new relationship with money. So diving into it, because enough about me, that's a whole different story. I want to focus on you guys and how to be able to reform this relationship with money. And so remember that money is everywhere. Maybe it's not in your pocket right now, but we're going to change that. We're going to focus more on the concept of it's everywhere. It's abundant. You see it not just whenever you pull out dollar bills or you pull out your wallet or your purse, but you see it in every single thing that's around you. So I have a red rose next to me, and it did take abundance. It did take money to produce this red rose. So this money has actually been transferred in energy to become an item. Some people like to take care of their health. So they go to the gym or they go on a nature walk, and the pavement of the park has been taken care of. This is a transfer of money that's created your health for you. And I can go all the way down the list, but we really want to start seeing money as not something tangible, but as an energy that is everywhere for us to be able to tap into. Now, this is the fun thing with bringing up the subconscious again, because you see me, I continue to marry the concepts of spirituality with hard science. And the hard science when it comes to money is those negative thoughts that we've been able to produce as belief systems that have hindered us from being able to achieve whatever money goal we have. Now, I'm not going to focus so much on someone that feels like they have a huge amount of abundance and money in their life, because they obviously already have this part of the equation down pat. So I am going to really focus on those of us that have resistance that's keeping us from being able to produce money. Now, one other aspect for just one person that I know is in the room that this could actually benefit for is when you think of money and someone has given you money and you've never had to be in a situation where you've trusted yourself to go produce money for yourself, this is the time where you can rewire that relationship to where you don't have to feel like money always has to come from somebody else. Money can come in any source, any direction, because it's energy. So if you are wanting to have control of your own money and be able to manifest it or attract it, this is a new opportunity to, again, reform your relationship. Now, in spirituality, I remember the only thing that keeps us from getting exactly what we want immediately is time. And that law of agreement that we have with this current realm that we're in on this earth is we have this time buffer. Now, time is really beautiful for us when we're thinking about money, because actually it makes sure that we have it ethically. I don't know about you, but I personally wouldn't take all the money in the world if it meant that I was harming somebody else. I would much rather just have what I need, be comfortable, knowing that it was ethically sourced and that I don't have to worry about it, that it's just naturally flowing into my life, than taking advantage of another human being or the planet in this case. Being able to have that resistance is really good in our money polarity to manifestation equation, because it makes sure that we're keeping our energy very pure. And that's going to be very critical in our next couple of exercises. And then finally, this is something that if it comes in when I say it and it makes you feel anxious, or it makes you feel like, I don't believe you, Air, or why would you even say that? Then now is the time that we really have to revisit this relationship with money, because you truly get to decide how much money you're going to make. And I'll say it just for anyone in the back that, is wandered off. You really get to decide how much money you attract into your life. And it goes back to the energetic balance. So if you don't believe me right now, hang on, keep on with the skeptic. I love a good skeptic. And we're going to dive into why that actually is the case. So revisiting this concept of radical acceptance. Now, we had a question the other day about radical acceptance, but this is a whole different one. We're no longer talking about the emotions, but we are talking about, are you getting in the way of your income? Which is a flip of the script, because a lot of us, when we think about income, we think of income getting in the way of what we want to achieve. And when we start to flip the script, we're actually talking to our subconscious again, and we're talking to the universal laws of, no, there's a lot of accountability here. And if we can become friends with our subconscious here and be able to revisit this concept, reform this relationship, we'll figure out that we're actually the ones that are running the show. That subconscious is. So our money is going to really reveal some things to us. It's going to reveal our values. It's going to let us know where we are on a vibrational state, which for those of us that are not familiar with what vibrational state means, you can relate it to emotional state. How are you feeling? Money is going to be about intention. What are you actually caring about in this world? Because I guarantee you, if I handed you $10,000 and I said, just keep the $10,000, you're never able to spend it, you'll be like, this is useless, right? So money really reveals our intentions. And then finally, when we think about money, we want to think about the impact and contribution that it has to the world. Because if we're revealing our values and we're revealing our intentions, we're going to see what type of impact and influence that we have on this world. So this last little diagram that I have here to the right is how I want you to start revisiting this concept. So you have your reality right there in the center. And this reality is influenced by two different things. And depending on what you're feeding at any given time, you're able to reform this reality. So if you're able to feed into what your relationship looks like with money, you're going to change your reality. And then also, we have this beautiful blessing of the universe's offering. There's a lot of different studies, whether you want to go with hard science or spirituality, and they're in our references, that when people actually start to appreciate money, to be able to not be afraid to make that ask, to be using gratitude, to be okay with where they're currently at, knowing where they're going, this universe offering comes in and it starts giving us different opportunities. Kind of like this masterclass, right? For some of us, we're like, I didn't even know who air was. And then you found us in some type of universal way. And you're like, okay, well, now I'm learning something about my subconscious. Now I'm learning about polarity. Tomorrow, we're going to learn about seduction and relationships and what it's like to be in healthy relationships and the attachment styles we have. So all of these offerings from the universe comes into our lives. And that reforms, again, what your reality is, because we gain these beliefs, we gain these behaviors again. So this is one of my favorite things to do. And for those of you all that love a good quote unquote game, this is the game for you when it comes to how to make your subconscious your best friend when it comes to money. So with this, you might want to go grab like an old checkbook, or I prefer to keep things virtual. I'm all about the planet, and you can download an app called a checkbook. It's absolutely free. What our goal is to basically get a checkbook that we're not going to use in our quote unquote reality banking. This is going to be our spiritual banking. This is going to be our subconscious banking. And the reason we're going to bring in this infinite checkbook into our life is because we're developing what's called money equanimity. Now, yesterday, we used the word equanimity when it came to our interpersonal self. And if this word kind of escaped you, that's okay. It basically means to be in a neutral state of outcome. Now, when it comes to money and it comes to our bank accounts, we consistently are looking at our bank account and we're wondering, am I going to be able to pay the bills? Am I going to have enough to go on vacation? Am I going to be able to give to that charity that I want to give to? These type of things can really put like a negative emotion towards us, right? We want to look at the bank account and be able to smile. Kind of like Naya was saying, when she thinks of money, she gets happy. So when we look at our account, sometimes we don't feel so happy. And if you remember the subconscious and all the lessons that we talked about earlier, the subconscious doesn't know what's really going on. It doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. And it also doesn't know what's going on in the words or numbers. It only knows feelings. So when I bring up the infinite checkbook, what we're actually doing is we are balancing out those feelings, those emotions with our subconscious and our frequency when it comes to spirituality to make it neutral, to make it equanimity. And that equanimity will be able to lower the resistance of our polarity manifestation equation to be able to get you to your money goals faster. So balancing out the emotions is what helps move you forward. This changed the game for me. I went from, okay, can I pay the bills this month, to, all right, I get to start choosing who I want to give money to, what charity do I want to support, what girlfriend do I want to bring out to dinner, like what, date do I want to go on for, like going to Europe. I went to Europe for 45 days last year. This concept is what changed the game for me to be able to unlock these type of things. So even taking a whole year off, because I took a whole year off last year because of this concept. So what we're going to do, and if you want to take notes on this later, if you haven't downloaded an app yet, we are going to think about our infinite checkbook. And our infinite checkbook means that on day 1, we're going to say that you received $1,000. You get to decide where that came from. You might say it came from a job promotion. You might say that it showed up in your mailbox. I sometimes say that it came from a certain business. I sometimes say that it's a gift from the universe or a gift from God. Sometimes I say that, it was a tax break and, I got whatever it was, but somehow I got this $1,000. And your only rule of this game is you have to spend all $1,000 by the end of the day. Now, this $1,000 cannot go into a savings account. It cannot go into an investment account. It has to be spent on something in your life. You can give it away. You can go shopping. You can go to Starbucks. I don't care where you go and how you use it, but you have to use all $1,000 in this day. What we're doing is we're transferring the fear from the subconscious into equanimity. And how we're going to do this is you are never going to run out. In fact, you're going to have the opposite thing happen real quick. So let's say I'm pretty practical, right? I've got bills to pay, mouths to feed. Got a little Jasper Golden Doodle over here. He likes toys. So I'm probably going to take my first $1,000 and I'm going to pay my bills. And I'm going to be like, well, that's not even enough to pay my bills. Like $1,000 doesn't go far these days, right? Well, in that moment, okay, I paid my bills today, or I paid some of my bills today. Tomorrow, you're going to wake up and I'm going to give you another shot of choosing where this money is going to come from. But on day 2, we're not making $1,000. On day 2, we got $2,000. And this $2,000 can come from multiple places, or it can come from one different place. So maybe you say it's work, and maybe you say it was a gift. Maybe you say, XYZ. Doesn't matter where it came from, but it is very important that you define where it came from. The how doesn't matter as far as the nitty-gritty, but it had to come from somewhere in the universe, even if you say it came from the universe. So on day 2, you have $2,000. And your only rule is you have to spend all $2,000. On day 3, you get $3,000. Your only rule, you have to spend all $3,000. Now, here's what happens to every single client, every single person I've ever told about this concept is, remember, we're making the subconscious safe again. Your reality is still your reality. That's why we have that Venn diagram that I just showed you. Things are not going to change overnight unless you're just really great at, bringing in the law of attraction and you lowered that resistance and you brought in the lottery. But what's going to start to happen is you're going to make your subconscious feel more safe to progress yourself towards these goals. Being able to ask for more money, being able to be in a receiving mindset, which is the law of polarity, the law of attracting other energies, the law of persuasion, if you will. And by the time you get to, let's say, day 10, you're going to be given $10,000. And your only rule is that you have to spend all $10,000. And whenever I've mapped this out with anybody else and they've been trusting enough to give me their bank accounts, they start to see that their reality bank account, the Bank of America or, Chase or something like that, they start to see that starts to elevate too. It may not be going by $1,000 increments, but they're going to start to see it increasing over the next couple of weeks, over the next couple of months. And that goes back to increasing the frequency. You're increasing your subconscious frequency as well as your spiritual frequency. You're reforming your relationship with money. Now, what I love is at $10,000, you're going to probably start to actually spoil yourself a little bit. For me, I really love to invest in education, right? I went to graduate school. I really love to learn things. I'm always in some type of program or retreat that's teaching me something, or school. So you'll start to purchase the bigger things, like, school tuition or a car or something of that nature as you get up. But there's going to come a point where you have so much money and you bought all of the douar in your account. You bought, the education. You've been taking out your friends to dinner. You've been doing all the fancy high life type of things. All your bills are paid. But in your infinite checkbook, you're going to be struggling to spend the money all in one day. So let's say you got to $40,000 and you're like, I've already went bungee jumping. I've already traveled to Europe. I don't know how to use this $40,000. This is going to start to really reveal who you are when it comes to your relationship with money. And the very beginning, I shared with you guys that money is energy. Money will tell you your frequency, it will tell you your values, and it will tell you what your current relationship with money is. So I'm sure you guys have heard the concept that money is not the root of all evil. Money is not evil. People can utilize money for evil things. And again, we're labeling you there. I want to be safe there. But money itself is not evil. Because if you are really dedicated to something, like for me, I love to support anti-human trafficking efforts. You're going to start to see in your infinite bank account, you're not looking for the douar. You're not looking for to travel the world anymore. You start donating to people who need it, to churches, to charities, to different types of organizations that you believed into. Maybe you even start donating it to people in your family or your friends that really need it. And that is what we call the relationship with money on a spiritual level. Because the higher your frequency is with money, the more it tends to attract to you, the more it starts to reveal who you are. So we want to use this infinite checkbook for a few different reasons. We want to make sure that we're helping our subconscious feel safe. That way we can start transforming the reality that we're living in. We want to increase our energetic spiritual connection with money to be able to really clean up our energetic field and our relationship with abundance and how that manifests into our life. And then finally, we really want to navigate what matters to us. Because again, if I give you $10,000 and I tell you that you can never spend it on anything, it means nothing to you. But if I tell you you have to spend it all over and over and over again, then you're going to start to figure out who you actually are and what does that mean in your journey on this planet. So we went from very primal, very basic, all the way up to what your purpose is here. Why are you having this earthly experience? And when it comes to the podcast, and this will be kind of my last little tidbit on this, is it's all about figuring out who we are, which is why I named the podcast, Who Am I? Because it's not to just survive. It's not to just get day by day. I'm very much a believer that even if you were a victim or not a victim, you're not meant to survive on this planet. You're meant to thrive in this planet. And when we start to really dive into the subconscious and spirituality and our relationships with all things in this earthly realm, that's when we start to succeed, and we succeed faster and faster the more that we clean up that energy and the more knowledge that we gain. So that is an exercise I want you guys to start doing. I highly suggest to put it in the WhatsApp group, or you can message me and like tell me, you know, the results or any type of questions. I actually did put the money checkbook, like another explanation of how that works on the podcast for you guys. And then I have a little bit of a fun one for anyone that is single or is someone that feels like you have a lot of abundance in your life. There is a podcast episode that's called Date the Rich, and it has nothing to really do about getting the billionaire or the millionaire. To be honest with you, that's probably more of a hook than anything. But it's about aligning yourself with the frequency of abundance and how you can draw that in to be able to achieve your goals and to be able to have the type of lifestyle that you want to have for yourself. And then last but not least, again, you're getting that ebook about the magnetic laws of polarity and seduction. And to reference money, in this case, you're going to read chapter 2. So with that, I'm going to stop this screen share, and then we're going to answer any other questions before we end up calling it an evening.